without further delay, let's talk to you because you're becoming your greatest possible self. Thank you so much for choosing to be on the journey, for taking the steps that you're taking, for showing up, for tuning into shows like Christy's show and all the beautiful lives that she does, my show, the 12-hour live stream, and all the beautiful lives I do, and all the other empowering leaders who you tune into, who you are aligned with, who you keep growing with, because that is the name of the game. We do this together. We do this by sharing information and growing and going on the journey together. So thank you for being here and a part of this movement and this journey. Next up is our iTunes review of the week. This week it's by Rika123, who says, "Energy boost. Chris is a light and a force who delivers personal growth messages with a dedicated intention of creating a more loving, up-leveled world for us all. His energy is infectious. He brings equally empowered and inspiring guests on the show, and the conversations just flow." Thank you so much, Rika123. I appreciate you. And if you want a chance to get shouted out on a future 12-hour live stream, go to beergps.com/iTunes or search Greatest Possible Self on your Apple Podcast store, and you can find us there and give us a review. Let us know what you love, what you want to see more of, and how we can improve the show for you. I love that feedback and love growing together. I'm going to introduce Christy in just a second here. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes. She's been on the show before, and she absolutely rocked it. This woman is such a powerful creator with her language and all of the just beautiful communication and wisdom and knowledge that she has, and she's an incredible interviewer herself and just a beautiful light. So definitely stay tuned. It's going to be a powerful interview, and make sure you just stick around. One idea has the power to change everything for your life. Okay, let's introduce Christy and then we'll bring her on. Everything is energy and anything is possible. These are the words that guide her practice every day. Through Christy's work with sessions, consultations, workshops, presentations, and online tools, she holds a focused intention with the divine that empowers others to transform and heal their lives. She is trained as a light worker, certified light wave practitioner, Reiki master, certified angel alchemist, certified hollow sets practitioner, and much more, but has learned to let go of the limitations of the modalities. She was born with unique empathic abilities that guided her to discover her true self, which allows her to connect to divine intelligence and facilitate the information or energy that is most beneficial to her clients at any moment in time. Her spiritual path has taught her many things, but perhaps the most important lesson that she's learned is we don't have to struggle. When we allow ourselves to be open to divine love and intelligence, we are absolutely unlimited. And we are blessed to have Christy with us here today. Christy, are you ready to rock the house, Superwoman?
I am. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for being back. You are like, I swear last time after we got done with our last conversation, I was like, this woman is so freaking powerful. Like, it's just the way you communicate is just, it's magical. So thank you for being here. And we're going to dive right in, Christy. Okay. Today's theme is self-love. Okay. Self-love is true love. What does that mean for you?
Wow. I was looking for posts this week because I do inspirational posts every day and post them on my Facebook page and Instagram, and I share them out. And it's just been a beautiful thing that I've done for quite a while. But the daily one started probably about a year or so ago. And because I was getting messages that, wow, this really does change, just makes my day or whatever it is. But I enjoy it too. So it's not just I do it for other people, but it's also, it's a two-way street there. But so I was looking up some that happened to be about self-love the other day. And so I was just like, wow. And no matter what the question is, the answer can always, 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 in some way, shape, or form, lead you back to love. I mean, and I've asked myself that question many times as to, what does all this go back to? If you just asked yourself that question, and the answer can be love. And we're not talking about the love that this word that you just throw around here and there. We're talking it's beyond words, right? Because when you're talking that universal love, that unconditional love, there really is not a word for it. But if we describe it using our words, it's that unconditional love, that purest love, that highest level of love. And that is within everyone. That is what we were all created from, what we are all created to be. And it's just, it's this, the core, or I was on a show yesterday and we were talking about the core,
Mm,
your core. I call it the true self, or that, you can use many different words for it, but
sure.
it's that divine that is within,
Yeah.
that source that is within everyone. And not many people realize that they have access to that.
Mm,
They go and search outside themselves for
mm,
something, whether it be love or abundance or whatever it is,
yeah.
healing, all these things. And it really can come from this beautiful space that is within you, but don't limit it to just being within you.
Mm,
It's within everyone, but it's also connected to all that is, this, the creator of all that is, source. And so it's around you as well.
mm.
And it's above and below and all around. And so I like to say inside and out and all around.
Yep.
And so covers it all. And with that, and from that, though, that's amazing things can happen. So once people get to the point to where they can see past the perceptions and the different perspectives and things like that,
Yeah.
and see past that, some people call it the veil or the matrix or
Mhm,
whatever you want to call it, the illusion.
mhm,
There's love. There's this amazing love. And in this space, that things that may have seemed to be like fear or judgment or whatever it is doesn't exist.
mm,
And you can come from this place of, and my thing, the theme of the month so far has been being okay with what is.
mm.
And even if you're not okay with something, be okay with that.
Yeah.
And
Especially,
so you
especially
can
if it's
just keep
something.
adding on. Just be
Yeah.
okay. Well, what if? We'll be okay with that. Well, what
Yeah.
if? We'll be okay with that. And so, and it can bring you to this place of peace,
Mm,
because in that peace
mm.
is that love as well. There's that self love, because there from that is peace and all these amazing things that you would imagine or that you would consider the divine to be.
Yeah.
Because truly within everyone, we're divine beings. You can call it that. It's just a phrase. It's just words. And having a human experience.
Yeah.
So what kind of human experiencing or experience are you choosing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so from that place of self-love, you can make different choices and you can be okay with things without getting so offended by things,
Mm,
or not feeling safe, or taking things so personally. And so there, with that comes more joy, and things just, I call it lightening up. So you just kind of, you're lighter, you feel lighter, you don't feel so dragged down by all
mm.
these things. And really all of these things can come from that love.
My gosh, Christy, there's so much gold you just shared right there. I'm like, I want to dive into it all. So I love. We'll start with the most recent, the lightening up. That is literally releasing the lower vibrations that have attached to our earth suit, right? This meat suit, this body having this spirit having a human experience. What is the human experiencing? What is the human's perspective? And I think it's like that frequency of lower vibrations of shame, guilt, fear, regret, like all that stuff that people can carry with them. And when we let go of those, when we just remember that we are love, when we go back to that true self, that source that is within each of us and all of us and all around us, which can be like a 3D mind screwing with your mind, right? It's like, how does that work, that this one thing that is within us, this driving force, but it's also within you at the same time, and it's also all around us at the same time. Like our 3D understanding mind can find it really difficult to grasp that awareness, that level of understanding. But it's the continual practice, I feel like, reconnecting with that source and reconnecting with the feeling. There's a feeling, there's a knowing that we are all connected and all one source and all come from one infinite unconditional love. So experiencing that, like, how can we invite that into our lives more? And I think that takes an openness, it takes a playfulness, it takes a acceptance and allowing, like you said earlier, like, just, yeah, like, I allow even the stuff that I quote unquote hate, which is, it's part of the personality, it's part of the ego, like dislikes, likes, preferences, that's all ego, that's all constructed in our identity of who we think we are, or who we define ourselves as far as I'm aware. But that unconditional love, that's ever present, and we all have access to that whenever we choose.
Yeah. And so where does all these things that you mentioned come from? The mind, or from what
Yes.
you've heard, or from what you've learned, or from what someone else experienced, or maybe
Yeah.
from your past experience. And do you know what all those things are?
What?
You can start with what they're not. They're not who you are.
Mm.
So when something is not who you are, really, truly,
Yeah.
then isn't it easier to let go of something that's not yours?
Yes. Yes.
So the letting go process can be much easier, and it really can be much more simple than what people make it out to be. I know that doing the energy healing sessions that I've done over the years, things got there was a lot of complications. Things just got so complicated because there was, next thing I knew, something else was being labeled as something else, and it's all energy. And so it really can be simplified. And when you connect in with and have this, we're talking about uncovering your relationship with your true self to rediscover the power within you. That's what you titled this segment of the show here. And so uncovering your relationship. So really you can start by just declaring sometimes, like, if you have thoughts in your mind, that's not who you are. If you have something from the past, whether it's past trauma or just experiences or whatever it was, that's not who you are. If you have something that you're experiencing, like a diagnosis, if some type of health issue, that's not who you are. If you have, some type of emotional stuff going on, that's not who you are. And so these are things that gives you an idea of, okay, I'm not these things, so who am I?
Yeah.
Now there's a good question, right? And that can be an open-ended question. It can be a rhetorical question. Who am I? And you can leave it at that, because the mind may or may not understand that. And that's okay for it you to just go, who am I? And start from there. And not going on and not basing that answer on your past or your experiences, your past experiences, or what someone else thought about you, or what you think, had thought about yourself and what you thought you were. And so, because what that is, that who I am is really, there's no words for it. That's the thing. When it comes to that infinite, that the universe, we give them labels and names, which is great because that's how we communicate with people. But some of the things that we can use to describe that, in which you truly are, is that love. And these are in their purest form too. So if you let go of all the belief systems and things around these things, these conditions around these things, basically. So you're talking in their purest form. Some of the things that I would consider underneath that would be peace and love, harmony, joy, acceptance, gratitude. Everyone is already these things. You already are these things, truly. And so how do you connect with that? How do you find that? How do you discover that or rediscover that? Because that's truly if you go back to your true nature, that's actually what you were created to be and what you were created from. So it's really for some people, it is more comfortable to really just do meditations, find some yoga. Like I said, just stop believing in everything that your mind is whatever's going on up there. That's not who you are, and that's not coming from your true self. So It's not saying that it's wrong or right or anything like that. So you can be okay with it without identifying with it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think when I've attempted to label things and categorize things and classify things, then that's when it's almost like I limit myself. I take myself from the infinite in love and possibility and bring it into finite and tangible, which I think is at some certain times it's important. Like it's one of our
It's
greatest gifts
useful.
to plan and to build and to
Mhm,
strategize and things like that. But I
mhm.
feel like we've moved so far into that in the thinking and the overwhelm and the anxiety and all that stuff that a lot of people have lost touch with that presence, with that peace, with that infinite love. One thing I experienced with a friend, we were doing a video call and we're just looking at each other in our eyes, being grounded, present, connected to heaven, connected to the earth, things like that, or higher dimension, so to speak, heaven, whatever you want to call it. And we are looking at each other and we are just like present, sending love to each other. And for me, it was like one of my first times doing it the way that I did it with him. And it was like after doing it for a while, space started to things started to open up and shapes started to become unrecognizable. It started all like blurring together, like the energy was just like one big glob or blob, and it was it was almost scary to lose the boundaries, the lines of what is a shape, what is his face, what is his eye, what are his lips. But like to get so lost in that present moment and so lost in the love that we were like sending back and forth to each other energetically, it was freaking magical. And I think like those moments is what reconnects us with that possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And infinite possibilities. That's another thing from that people call it the I am that I am,
Hmm.
that you truly are. There's abundance there.
Mm,
There is. And so what if you started to believe or started to at least know about, or and in some ways start to believe, I suppose, or at least be open to the possibility of
yeah.
attracting that in which you truly are. Not what you
Mm,
thought you were, not what someone else thought you were, but that in which you truly are. And so what are those things? And you can make a list of some things, but then eventually you let those go too. You don't
yeah.
like you don't hold on to these things, because then that's attachment and
Yeah.
that's not who you are.
Mm,
And so you begin to trust in the universe, in the divine, in the this whatever you want to call it, that wow, I do attract that in which I truly am. I can attract that. That is possible. That is a possibility for me. And you do so in this way that where there's this freedom, there's acceptance, like I said. And I for a while, that word acceptance didn't sit well with me, and it's
mm,
because I was overthinking it, and because I was thinking, well, if I accept something, that means it's mine. Well, that's not the acceptance that we're talking about. So remember that there's a difference between words and phrases and quotes and things.
yeah.
And this is where a lot of people, some people get confused,
Mm,
is because they try to take something that is part of the human experience
mm,
and try to give it the same meanings as like a spiritual, which is totally different.
right.
Like acceptance, for one thing, you're not accepting something as it being yours.
Right.
You're
Not taking
accepting
ownership,
something. You're accepting something as being okay with what is. You're
allowing. Yeah.
accepting it and saying, okay, this is what it is, and there's less judgment there, or there's no judgment when there's that pure acceptance. So you're
Mm,
accepting it for what it is,
yeah.
not for it being yours.
Mm,
So you see the difference. And so with the mind is a beautiful thing. And it is there we learn to read and to write and to add and to do so many different things with
yeah.
the mind.
Yeah.
Okay? We it's so creative and it's such a beautiful thing. But yet there's this personal part of the mind. Some people call it ego, but it can even be beyond that. You can actually have very little ego and yet still be holding on to something as it's because it's just been conditioned.
Mm,
So it's the conditioned mind, not necessarily always the ego. So these things aren't bad, aren't wrong or right or anything like that. So there's acceptance with those for what they are, because it's not who you are.
Mm,
The mind is not who you are. It's a tool. It's something that we get to use. It's a beautiful thing. But when you learn to, like I said, you just become more okay with things when it's like, oh my gosh, this is mine, and what's going to happen, if I lose it. Or here's a little tip that really helped me, is that in which you truly are, that I am, whatever that is, you cannot lose it, and it cannot be taken away. So you
mm,
can let go of the fear of losing something, because if it's something that doesn't stay, then it's not who you are. Okay, it's something that you had, or something that that may come and go. It was something that was temporary.
mm.
No
Is
matter
it?
how long, it could be a few minutes, or it could be, a lifetime. Just
Yeah.
like the human body, it's temporary here. But that I am, that being, in the soul, it lives on. It doesn't die.
Mm. And that getting connected with that, would you say it's because we kind of just dove straight in, and here's how you can start like relating to it, and I love it. I
Mhm.
love, like, here's how you can relate to what you aren't, here's how you can start to relate to what you are, and it's really to discover that true self and to discover the power. How do, like, because we all have this power within us to create our reality. We are co-creating with reality all the time. How does someone know if they are like really tapped in to that source, into that true self,
Mhm.
or not?
Okay, so you're gonna have there's gonna be peace. There's gonna be, even if you're experiencing something physical going on,
Hmm.
a sensation, a feeling, or whatever. If you look beyond that, if you feel in deeper than that, and there is peace there, that's that. Or there's love. Have you ever watched something on TV and it moved you, like you had chill bumps, or you just were just, oh wow, that's just maybe someone was singing and it just moved you, and you just felt just this beautiful. That's because that connected with that true self there.
Mm,
Wh- Um, I often ask people when it comes to self love. So ask yourself some of the things that you would, that you want, or that you would choose in life. And a lot of people that I've asked this question to, they come up with amazing answers. I do these videos, and I get really interactive with them, and they'll say things like abundance and peace, and even world peace, and
yeah.
they'll say things like health and wellness and love and joy, and they come up with these amazing things, and I'm going, okay, so they're not just saying, okay, I want a new. A lot of people that, yes, they're wanting a new car, but why is it that you want that new car?
Right. Right.
You
So
know,
the
and
feeling.
and so there's something else that's beyond the material thing,
Yeah.
as to what you truly, and the reason why you're wanting it. And I'll often ask people, why would you think that you would want those things, these amazing things? And could it be that you do love yourself that much? Could
Mm,
it be that you love yourself so much that you want these amazing things, that you're choosing these amazing things? And it's
mm,
because that is your true nature. I mean, that when you really dig down in there, that's your true nature. And so really getting to that is just recognizing it in those moments, but also, like you had mentioned, I had heard you right before we came on, about having fun too. When you're
hmm.
out having fun and you're not overthinking things, or if you're out having fun and you're not, even if you have stuff going on in your mind, you're just kind of tossing that to the side a little bit there. It's because in those moments you're not identifying with those thoughts. You're enjoying yourself, or you're doing something, or you're it could be yoga, it
Yeah.
could be meditation, it could be washing dishes, and just not, maybe you're just doing your thing, and you're not really paying attention to these other things, you're just doing what you're doing.
Mm,
And so in those moments, there's this peace, and it doesn't always have to be quiet, because you can
mm,
have this peace in the middle of a crowd
mm,
that is loud and all this other stuff. You can still, there is that inner peace that
mm,
is always there. It's just bringing it out, allowing it to shine. And the more you play with that, the more it will start to come out. The more you stop identifying with these things that you're not, but just going, oh, wow, okay, I'm okay with that because that's not who I am, or at least becoming more okay with things, then the true self starts to emerge more so. And it's always there. It never goes anywhere. It just sometimes gets covered up by all this other stuff. And so, but the more you let that shine, the more that becomes that true nature starts to come out, and it just becomes more natural to be there, because it can help shift your body, your mind, all these things that that are just parts, just aspects of you that you thought you were. It can shift and change those. But like we were talking about, people are looking outside themselves, and that's absolutely okay. It's like being okay with that. And because you never know when you're going to run across something or someone that's going to help you to discover, or to really reconnect, or to help that to emerge or shine. And that's what one of the many ways that I help people is, yes, so it's okay to look outside yourself, to get to that point, and maybe find that technique, or find something, that shift, or whatever that is for you, to get to that. So don't look at going outside yourself as a bad thing. It's like, but eventually, here's the thing, eventually you will be led to that true self.
And I think
that's the answer.
The outside things are there as indicators of what are the types of things, what are the types of experiences that we want. Some people might be craving going to nature, and so they want this house in the mountains, or this house on the prairie, or whatever it might be, like that fresh air. They're like, oh my gosh, I just want that. When really what their soul wants, it just wants peace, right? But they think that they will create peace through this external thing called a house in the mountains. Some people want a really fast sports car, and they want to go fast. They want adrenaline. They want the thrill. They think that's what's going to give their soul the fulfillment, the what it's looking for, what it's craving for. It doesn't matter what the person's goal is, what the direction, the indicator, what is our version of success. But along the journey, like you were saying, the thing is going to come up, the tool, the training, the coach, the transformation, the breakdown that requires us to overcome it, or to dissolve it, or to heal through it, or whatever it might be, so that on the other side of that experience, because we initially wanted that red sports car, or initially wanted that, the house in the mountains, that we have grown, and our soul has designed an experience that it's like, yes, this is what I was here for. Like, you didn't even know that this was going to happen, but hey, look at us now. Look at how empowered we are, how more connected with our source, with our center of power that we are.
And that true self, the divine source, whatever you want to call it, I don't make a big deal out of that, because some people are like, oh, it has to be called God, and it has to be, or Jesus, or this or that, and it really, would they mind what you call them? No. So it's not a big deal what you call it. It's whatever works for you. Find what works best for you. If you like a certain name, you feel comfortable with that, absolutely use that. But this red sports car, the cabin, what if you did, have that, or receive that, or get that, or whatever it is, and that helped you along your journey in some way, shape, or form. So we're not saying don't go out and get the car, don't go to I don't tell people to do anything or not to do anything necessarily, because I stay away from the need to and have to's, because that's just adding to the mixed things that you're actually would be beneficial to kind of start weaning yourself off of those things. I like to change them to you get to. And it makes it a lot more light, lightens things up. And so, but what if that red sports car, and you're driving down the road, and you feel good, and it brings you that peace. And what if that in those moments brings you a little bit closer to that, in which you're like, oh wow, that feels good, so I'd like to feel that more. It's just like, but not being dependent upon the sports car or the cabin, but absolutely you can go to that cabin and live there, and maybe you find your true self there. Maybe that helps you, absolutely, so go for it, but don't be dependent on it, or do your best not to, and to be dependent on those things for your happiness, for your joy, for that peace, for that love. It's just like in relationships.
Yeah.
Like desires, dependencies, oh, you complete me. I can't live without you. Those are not that love. That's
Mm.
not true love.
Mm.
The true love and that real love comes from this place in which you are. Now, if you meet someone and they happen to help you to discover that about yourself, how wonderful is that? So
Yeah.
it's not saying that, oh, I've got to do this before I can do that. That's just adding back to the whole ego thing and all that, or whatever you want to call that. It's just adding more. I like to call them like conditions
Yep.
and requirements and
Yep.
things like that. So those are the things that you're like, okay, you're starting to shift that. I like to say, just shifting these things, or
Yeah.
transformation. I love transformation, the word transformation. So you're transforming these things so that you're not dependent on them.
Mm.
But absolutely, how wonderful is it to have that? And if you choose to have that, but don't be dependent on it for your, or you start to transform that. It can just start naturally, easily, happening more easily when you really take those moments to really go back to center there, or whatever you want to call that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever works for you, though. Everyone is going to be different as to how they access that.
Yeah.
But starting by the things, it's just like some people say, well, how do I know what I want? And then sometimes the answer can be, well, if you know what you don't want, then it can help you guide you to what you do want. Same thing can be said of finding who you truly are by letting go, or just acknowledging, or in some way, shape, or form finding those things in which you're not, and that can help you. Now, that's just one of many ways, because there's infinite possibilities here. So it's not to say that it's just one way to do something.
Yeah, I think it's also when people, depending on what stage people are at on their journey, they might not yet have given themselves permission to be that infinite creator yet, right? And I think we're always stepping into that even more. And I think in the beginning, it's like, well, I don't know what I want. Okay, so start with number one. What don't you want? What do you? Because it's like we're trained to focus on what we don't want. So it's like, okay, exercise that muscle. What don't you want? What is the thing that you don't want? Okay, what's the opposite of that? Let's start looking there. Let's look at the clear opposite of that. Does that feel good? Does that seem inspiring? Is that something you want to try to go for? And I think that's an invitation. I think the way that you're phrasing it, it's an invitation. It's a get to. It's a privilege. It's an opportunity. There's no force. There's no requirement, because when it's that way, then it's like our soul is like, no, I didn't sign up for this. I signed up to choose this, not to be forced into this, not to have to do this. And I think abundance and wealth creation, there's a lot of that, because it feels like a lot of people have the conversation, I have to go make money. I have to be able to fit into society. I have to pay my bills, like all these have tos, when our soul wants abundance. Our soul wants prosperity, wants flourishment, wants the fullest expansion, to grow, to expand. And like, if we feel like it's a have to, then there's going to be all these constraints, conditions, things like that we're dealing with and grappling with on trying to get there. And that's going to stop us from tapping into that power, into that center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also the what another thing that comes in is it's almost like everyone out there, if you were to ask them if there was something, what is it, when you really get down to it and looking at the big picture, everyone just wants to feel good, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, almost everyone who doesn't want to feel good truly.
Yeah.
And if they do, then that's something, that's their own choice, and for
Yep.
whatever reason, that's them. But truly, everyone wants to feel good, or to feel these things, and when they go seeking for these things, they will ultimately, some people find it sooner in life, and some people find it later in life. It just depends on the person. But what if they were to watch this today, and they could really start because these shifts and changes can happen very quickly when you start just saying, even, okay, so for example, just do this. Now, how did that feel?
Felt like letting it go.
Like, okay,
play.
It's okay. Does it really matter? I don't, so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like being okay with that.
Yeah.
And it could be as easy as just, and so acceptance,
It's awesome.
accepting that you don't know everything,
Mm.
accepting that it's okay
Mm.
to not know. It's okay to not feel good sometimes, but knowing that you don't have to stay there. It's temporary.
Mm.
That you get to change that, and you can start by asking yourself in this moment. This let's say there's a thought going on in your mind, and it's about something. Who knows what it is, and something that you're worried about. And ask yourself, kind of step back and look at the big picture here. Outside of that whatever's going on there, does it really matter?
Mm.
How much does it really matter?
Mm.
You can get a scale from 1 to 10 or 0 to 10, and most of the time, whatever that was causing you to worry about that, if you go beyond that and go beyond that, and just kind of, you will find that there's something so simple that was there that really doesn't matter.
Mm.
And so that's that true self, that power within, that self-love, that place. Those things seem so much smaller than what they were made out to be.
Yeah.
And beyond what was you may have seen or what you may have heard, that you may have seen so serious, and so it was taken so personally. Beyond that, that's where everything's okay, all is well, truly. And so it's also, like I said, lightening up. So not taking things so personally, so seriously,
Mm.
because then that just makes it seem like more than what it is. And so, so find somebody. If someone, I use Facebook as an example sometimes. If someone's on your page or makes a comment on one of your posts and you don't like it, just go, does it really matter? Is that what your life has come to? And if so, you might want to expand or, kind of step back for a moment away from that. But also, you have the power. And I think this came up the last time you and I were talking, because you had mentioned something about, what happens when someone does this and does that? Is that a reflection of yourself? And no, you get to hit that delete button if you want to. You get to block that person. But eventually you're just like, does it really matter? I don't really care.
Mm.
And just being okay. Just like, okay, whatever. That's just where they're at. That does not mean that it's a reflection of you. That does not, all these things, these sayings, these phrases, these quotes, these things. Yes, I do inspirational posts, but that's not who I am. That's not who you are. These are just things that are there to help to inspire you.
Yeah.
So it's not taking these things so personally. And that's where everyone, not everyone, but some people have come to that place. And so then you see people on Facebook, oh, I'm going to take a break for a while. And it's because these things are really getting to them and they're just taking a step back. And you can use these videos, these different amazing, it's how you're using them, what you're using them for.
Yeah.
And if it's something beneficial, absolutely. But if you're noticing in your life that it's not benefiting you, if you're not noticing the more inspirational things, the things that are positive, the things that are beneficial for you, helpful for you in some way, shape, or form, then what's the point?
Yeah. And I think the phrase that comes to my mind is everyone's doing the best that they can with the knowledge, the gifts, the abilities, the awareness that they have at that given moment, right?
Yes.
So I think some people can just keep beating ourselves up. I know I've beat myself up for like, man, I should be somewhere else. I should be doing differently. I should have different results. I should. All these like.
And then you can ask yourself, really?
Mm.
And what does that true self tell you when you ask that question? Really?
The true self says, you're at the perfect place. You're at the perfect place. Like,
the true self says, no, you don't have, you there's no should be,
Right.
there's no have to, need to, other than, I mean, there's a few things that are needed in life that are beneficial, like breathing, like air, things like that, of course.
Yes.
But those are human things, and it's okay. But it's knowing that whatever you choose, whatever, like I said, just being okay with, even if you do something and it doesn't, and you're like in your mind going, okay, is this the right thing to do?
Hmm.
Okay, well, to a certain degree, when it comes to the spiritual aspect of it, there is no right or wrong.
Right.
Okay, but of course you know better. You're not going to go out and do something really, hopefully not something, if you're in touch in some way, shape,
Yeah.
or form with your true self, you're not going to go out and do something really, really terrible, okay,
Right.
and harmful and all this other stuff. So the more you can let go of those fears of doing something wrong or bad or whatever, because when you're more, people call it in alignment, but whatever you want to call it,
Sure.
those things just don't, like, I don't even think of those things.
Yeah.
Those things just don't even come to me. They're not even, they even stopped even showing up in my mind anyway. No matter what I've watched on TV, or people are like, oh, I've got to stay away from negative people and this and that and the other. Well, you can actually start to, and that of course is beneficial if it's helpful for you in that moment.
Sure.
So honoring where you're at, but also knowing that you can be in this peaceful place no matter who's around you.
Yeah.
You can be impervious to, or just unaffected by, or harmonious with negativity, quote
Yeah.
unquote. Okay? It's just energy. So when you simplify it, this essence of who you are, this true love, with that, from that,
Mhm.
the other stuff, just imagine, and you can start expanding that around you. Like when I did a show about, are you ready to lighten up? And so we actually did this exercise where there's, you imagine this spark of light within you, because everyone has this light in them, right? And the more you start to recognize that and see that, and just know that that's within everyone, what if that helped those around you? Just shift that
Mm.
energy. But also from that, you get to, it's because it's infinite. It
Mm.
doesn't run out. It's one of those things. Like I said, it's abundance.
Mm.
It's infinite, and so you can't lose it, and no one can take it from you. You can expand that around yourself, and guess what that does? That transmutes. And so you don't have to continue to create these bubbles and shields and boundaries and all this stuff, because it becomes a natural, just automatic thing. And life can just be so much more easier
Yeah.
when you allow it to be.
I love
Just
it.
like everyone does a lot of grounding processes,
Yeah.
and all these things, and some people spend a lot of time doing these things. But you're already, from that, and with that true self, and
Yeah.
you, when you really start to know that power that you truly are,
Yeah.
that divine being that you are, you're already grounded. You're already
Mm.
connected to all that is. So you don't
Yeah.
have to connect into anything. Just like you don't have to be attached to anything.
Wow.
And you just, there's this freedom that comes with it. And how beautiful is that?
It's
And that is within everyone.
Yeah, it's a knowingness, and I think a lot of
It is.
people don't have that knowingness that they're already connected. It's a faith, I think, faith in that source, faith in yeah, we are all connected. And I think for me, I know it's been easy to get into the 3D mindset of what do I see, what's tangible, what's in front of me. And I know when we can unlimit ourselves and open ourselves up to the possibilities when we're not focused on that.
Because the divine is unlimited too.
Yeah.
So what? So because the divine is unlimited, unless, we'll just say if the divine is unlimited. So if you just were to ponder that for a moment, if the divine is unlimited, is there anything truly blocking you from anything? Are you
Mm.
truly stuck? And so when you start letting go of the beliefs that you have these things, that these are just a part of you, which they don't have to be.
Nope.
And so these are all, just know that those are programs and conditions and conditionings and patterns, or people call them all different things, belief systems, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
That's not who you are.
Mm.
So the ones that are not beneficial for you, just by knowing that, will start to fade away. will start to dissolve, because you're like, okay, that's not who I am. You don't have to go around and say that all the time to everything and everyone, because you want to even let go of that. But it may be something that is helpful for you to start with. And then it's just an automatic thing. I don't go around telling myself that all the time, but I did mention it when I was first into this whole process for myself. And but it really was a freedom for me to know that I wasn't these things that I thought I was.
Yeah.
And wow, I was identifying with that, and that's not who I am. And so it's just easier to let go of something that's not you.
Yeah, I was gonna say what's beautiful is the consciousness evolution, the reconnection with that power, with the divine, with source. Like what worked in the beginning to transmute from one level of consciousness to the next, like it's almost like it gets built in. It becomes automatic, and you don't need to effort to do it to get from that level of where you were to where you are. And then it even stops becoming like I need this, or I'm supposed to do this, or it's important for me to do this. It's just like it is. It just is. Like there's no arguing with it. There's no like fighting against it. It just is. And I think that's beautiful.
And something can be beneficial for you, and you absolutely do that. Use that.
Yeah.
Even if it's not who you are, that's okay. Use that as long as it's beneficial for you and it's helping you. Then use it until it's no longer helpful for you. Like people clear their energy. Well, of course they're going to it because they think that they need to and have to. And so as long as that's there, though, do that because that's beneficial for you. If that's helping you, do that. Grounding exercises, if that's helping you, do that. So we're not saying not do something just because it's not you. No, as long as you find that it's helpful. I did them up until I found that, okay, I feel okay without doing that too. So I don't have to do that. I can choose to, but I don't need to or have to.
Right.
See the difference between choosing something? It's not saying that you won't ever get to do it again, so you're not losing anything.
Right.
You still get to choose to do it. It's just not a need to have to thing. And that will start to shift when you start kind of working with these things.
Yeah.
And
the need to have to is because it's probably, I feel like I'm hearing fear. People's fear that the energy will not be pure. They will not be connected to their source. They'll be whatever. They won't be their infinite possibility self. So it's like, I better ground. I better do these mantras. I better use these crystals. I better do the chanting or whatever it might be. Like, and those are all beautiful things. And like, the people at the highest levels of consciousness use them, but they don't necessarily, they're not run by them. They're not saying my life has to be so regimented and this has to be a part of it. It's a choice every moment, choosing because it's fun, because it feels aligned, because it feels connected with their source, their power.
Because you get to.
Yeah.
So from that being that in which you are, you get to do, and things just are more easy. They're easy. They're more simple. They're less complicated. There's less or no suffering and things like that. There's less struggling. Things just flow. Like you said. And so, but the way things got turned around was because things were being created from fear versus love. And so, which is okay. So be okay with that.
Sure.
Like we said, we start to lighten up, and you will notice that those things just start to more naturally and easily and effortlessly fade away. Because then you'll just wake up one day, or you'll just notice one day. I was like, because I used to have this fear of like dark entities, negative entities, and things like that. Because I did all these programs and learnings, and I was taught all these things about them and what they do and all these things. And then one day I just noticed that, oh wow, it's just not even there anymore. So it's like it's not even real for me. It doesn't feel real for me anymore.
Wow.
And so that's the way things will start to shift. Yes, they're you can accept that them for what they are, and that other people may still believe in them, and it may still be affecting them, and that's okay. That's okay. But it doesn't mean that it has to continue to be real or feel real for you.
Yeah, or feel urgent, feel imminent. Like that real can be a tricky word. I think because like other people deal with them as if it is a obstacle in their path. Like they can only get to consciousness. They can only get to pure love. They can only get to pure divine source if they are defending against dark entities and things like that. And it's like, we're at this place, and I would say you're more so at this place where it's like, okay, there are dark entities. There is shadow out there somewhere, but I don't really deal with it. Like, it doesn't come near me really. Like I'm dealing with light. I'm dealing with love. Like that's what's all around me all the time. So let's play.
Yeah, and so I just and so imagine this is just a little quick exercise, and
Sure.
this is something that was helpful for me, so I like to share it sometimes, and it's kind of coming up at the moment. So let's just do this for a moment. Imagine a divine being in front of you.
Okay.
Give it a color, give it a shape, give it. It could be a light, it could be whatever you could picture an angel, an archangel, Jesus. It doesn't matter who you what it is. So to me, it's just invisible, but it's just this divine being there,
Okay.
and you can ask it questions, get a higher or more divine perspective about things, because know that whatever comes in from that, if it's not supportive, if it's not loving, if it's not, doesn't feel like it's with that acceptance, if it feels like it's more like a fear based, that's not coming from that divine being. Okay. So and then eventually, once you get familiar with that and you play around with that, and that works for you, then you can place that inside of you,
Yeah.
because that's that true self there. And so let's just ask a couple of quick questions here. Now, would you consider a divine being, if you just kind of just get that image there, let's just play for just 1 minute here. Okay, so a divine being. So would you even ask or consider a divine being if would you consider them in any way, shape, or form being unworthy? Or would you ask them if they were worthy or deserving of something?
No.
Okay. So does that truly exist then?
Wow.
Did that switch that a little bit for you?
Wow. Yeah.
Because you're like, well, wait a minute. So it's a
Wow.
man-made, it's a human thing that was made up,
Yeah.
okay, to keep you in a lower vibration
Wow.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then you can kind of expand upon that if you want to. Like, would a divine being, like if it had a negative energy around it, whatever that is, it could just be, because it's energy. Everything is energy. So if there was a negative energy around a divine being, would it be bothered by that?
No.
So you can get to that place to where because it's just like, it's just like, and then it's like whatever. And so it's okay with those things, and it's just not affected by them.
Wow.
And so that is what is within everyone as well.
Wow.
And so just know that all this other stuff is just things, and it's okay. So it's like being okay with those things, but knowing, saying, that's not who I am. And so that can shift. And so this is all can be part of that self-love, because, and so you can start to, and even maybe wake up each morning and maybe just practice it. And you can start with saying something like, I am loved and blessed. And just see how that feels for you. Or find something that is comfortable for you, that is reassuring, that is comforting, that is loving, something that you're comfortable saying. Yeah. And you can start with maybe before you go to bed, and maybe when you wake up in the morning, say whatever that is. And for me, I started saying, I'm loved and blessed always, no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, you're loved and blessed anyway. And so, and then also come up with a mantra if it does help you. And for me, it is all is well. So find something that you're comfortable with saying, that is comforting for you. And when you notice your mind going wherever it is going, you can say that over and over again until you stop that previous pattern that was going on there. You can interrupt that pattern. But for me, it was all is well, because I knew, I just had this knowing, not only within me, but it started growing and growing, that all is well. And yes, that made sense to me. And so it was not only an inner thing, it started becoming a logical thing for me as well. And so I was like, all is well. And so anytime something comes up, I can just go right back to that. All is well. And it's getting to where it just doesn't even, happen anymore. And so it's such a freeing thing. But these are just many ways that you just, in some of a few ways even, because
Yeah,
there's
I was gonna
infinite
say
possibilities.
we're just scratching the
We're just,
surface
oh
here,
yeah,
Christy. You got
oh yeah.
tools upon strategies upon ideas and shifts. I really love that, the divine being. Like you would never ask, are you worthy? You know, I wouldn't. Like some people might, but like, are you worthy? It's like, no, it is a divine being. It is an entity that is like its purest energetic form. You are.
And
It just
that's,
is. It
yeah,
just
and
is
that's who
that
you
presence.
really and truly are. So would you truly be unworthy or undeserving? And so it's a made up thing. And so it's just a word that was given to something, and
Mm,
so that's what a lot of things are. We, and like I said, we use them to communicate and talk and teach and all these things. And so they're wonderful tools, can be, but what, they're not who you are.
mm,
And so it
wow.
just makes it easier. And so it's become a lot more easier for me to talk about. I used to go, when I would talk about these things. And so I was like, what is that? And it was because some part of me was identifying with those things. And
Wow.
it no longer, I just don't do that anymore. And
Wow.
so it's just a freedom.
So beautiful. Christy is so freaking beautiful. I love this. Let's wrap it up with whatever, if we didn't touch on anything yet that you're feeling called to share about, or just to drive home what we've already dove into around uncovering that source, that divine within ourselves, to really experience that true love. It's been absolutely epic. Let's bring it home.
Absolutely. So for me, I would just say, just know that you're loved and blessed. Just have this knowing, whether it feels like it's true or not for you in this moment, because you can get to that. What is, find that you can go to.
Yeah.
That's something that you can just go to, and it just works. And then when that, if you find that no longer works, then go to, do something different, find something different. But that true self within you will just learn to trust that.
Yeah.
Get your notebook out, write things in it, put
Mm.
the universe, God, source, creator is taking care of this, and write things down in that notebook, and allow this, just know that the universe is taking care of those things, or
Mm.
God, source, creator, whatever that is for you, the divine is taking care of these things. And it truly can and does work that way.
Yeah.
And so is it really truly, if there, and because the divine is, and like I said, I asked you to consider if it is, so then you can move to it is, and it can, and it does, and all these other things. But it really does. It's infinite, and there's just not all of these conditions that and requirements and things that we thought were needed to do something. And they're just things that aren't really, don't have to be, need to or have to be true for you if you don't choose for them to be.
That's right. That's right, Christy. 100%. Let's tell our audience how they can stay connected with you. What are their next steps? Where can they go to continue working with you, to learn more about what you do?
Yeah, I do still do the energy healing or spiritual healing sessions, and also mentoring, teaching, things like that. And I have other shows that I do as well. And so you can find out all of that information at christywarnick.com.
Hmm.
And I have like I said, my business Facebook page that people can go to. You and I are going to do a show in a couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about stepping into the flow of the universe. So that's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, so we're going to get together and do that. And I go on my page, and sometimes I'll do energy healing. I'll just kind of check in with people, do some of that. But I also go on, I love inspiration, empowerment,
Yes.
transformation, things like that. And so that's what it's all about.
Mm. Mm. Christy, I love it. And they can also go to your website, christywarnick.com, facebook.com
All up there.
/Christy Warnick, the number 1, I believe, is how they find you. And they can
Mhm.
spell your name CHRISTY WARNICK, and look you up as well. And you're doing amazing work in the world. Just such a brilliant light. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, Christy. You're an amazing,
Thank you
amazing human
all.
being.
Thank you all. And go and just shine your light.
Keep shining. We'll see you soon, okay, Christy?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.